Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by Good Marketing and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So what the world refers to as football, and we Americans often refer to as soccer, has grown exponentially in popularity over the last decade or more. Our state's own Detroit City Football Club recently announced a major investment and a huge upgrade into what is going to be their new facility. And here to share the path and the details is a co-owner and CEO of the Detroit City Football Club, Mr. Mann. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Absolutely. So just for our listeners who aren't all that familiar with either football or Detroit's team, how long has Detroit had a professional soccer team?
You know, it's a pretty fun story. I think a kind of uniquely Detroit, Michigan story. It was started by myself and four friends back in 2012, and we started as an amateur team. We each chipped in $2,000 and a lot of sweat equity to get it going. And over the years, we've just continually grown thanks to this amazing support that we developed around this club and the community around it. And so, in 2020, we went professional. We joined the third division of American soccer. And then in 2022, we joined USL, which is where we're at now, which is the second division of American professional soccer. So just one level below Major League Soccer.
Is that right? Okay. So you are right there on the cusp of Major League Soccer. So it's a really good product. Now, like baseball, do players kind of work their way up the ranks, or are people tend to be set at, would your players then aspire or be likely to maybe move up to Major League Soccer?
Yeah, we have a couple guys on the squad right now that are on loan to us from major league teams. They haven't made the starting roster, so they get sent to us to get some more playing time. And so, we have a roster of guys, who are permanently with us who have played, in MLS or professionally overseas. And so, we don't have a formal relationship, with any MLS team. So we're not a direct feeder, but we're all in the similar American soccer ecosystem.
Makes sense. Okay. And so who are your opponents? Is it a kind of a Midwest group or is it a nationwide group? How many teams are in leagues, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so USL Championship, there's 24 teams in the league, and we're across the country. So, we were just in Oakland, California, and we got Hartford coming to town, and we have regional rivalries with teams in Pittsburgh and Indianapolis and Louisville. But we're in major American cities as well as in some smaller markets where the teams have a really passionate following. So it's a fun, unique product, and it's funny for all the Europeans on the team who get a rude awakening as how big our continent is when we're one weekend we're in Tampa, and then San Antonio comes to us, and then they're flying off to California a few days later. It can be a lot.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And what generally is your season, and how many matches will you play in the course of a season?
So we have 34 matches in the season, and quote unquote spring training usually starts mid-January, and first game's usually around the first week of March, and playoffs start November 1st. So when we were an amateur team, our season was only 8 weeks long, which my wife reminds me all the time. And now it's a year-round experience, and so which has been great. With this community around the club is super passionate about it, and it's really become a part of people's lives. And basically every Saturday for 10 months a year, we are either at home or on the road, it's been fun.
Got it. Okay. So now, we're talking about lots of travel. You've obviously got a team. You have an existing facility that you operate. We'll get into your new investment, but generally, you talked about the $2,000 you and your four buddies kind of kicked in to get this thing started. What does your annual budget look like? Not necessarily from a number standpoint, but where does that money tend to come from? Sponsorships, and I would imagine, but what else?
Yeah, so we're fortunate at USL Championship that our games are on CBS, ESPN, In Michigan, we're on CBS Detroit or CBSDetroit.com. Every game is there. Nationally, as a default, every game's on ESPN Plus. It's not picked up on CBS. We have 2 games in ESPN2 later this month. But the reality is, it's great exposure for us, those nationally broadcast games. And we do great on the TV ratings, which is something surreal to us given where we started. But that's really not the revenue driver for us. For us, it's butts in the seats. And so, it's people buying tickets. It's the sponsors who, are incorporating the broadcast but are really getting in front of the fans, at the stadium. We have Alumnify, which is, a product of MSUFCU on the front of the jersey. So they're on the front of our professional teams and our women's team, but also we have 4,000 kids across Metro Detroit that play for us who also wear the same jersey as those pro teams with the same sponsors on it. And so, ticketing, sponsorship, and then when we are take some pride in the fact that we are the world's largest seller of Stroh's beer, and so concessions is also a key part of the operations here.
Good for you. That's a great statistic to have. Largest suppliers, consumers of Stroh's beer. That's great. Talking about the money side, I want to give a nod to our friends at Wagoner Financial. Are you ready to make smart financial decisions? Wagoner Financial offers a proven process for financial transformation, empowering individuals at all stages, whether you're starting out, nearing retirement, or anywhere in between. Stop feeling unsure about your financial path. Wagoner Financial can help you undergo this great financial transformation. Schedule a consultation today to discuss your individual needs and how Wagoner Financial can help you by visiting wagoner-financial.com or give them a call at 517-853-3367. So where do you currently play your matches now?
So since 2016, we've been playing at Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck. And Keyworth's an amazing story. It's I think kind of ties in perfectly with DCFC. We had been playing at Cass Tech, downtown Detroit, just a stone's throw from all the other stadiums. But that was just a beat-up high school field. We needed a bigger venue. So in 2016, we approached Hamtramck Public Schools, and Keyworth was built in 1936. It was actually the first WPA project completed in Michigan. So the street it's on is called Roosevelt Street because FDR actually came for the ribbon cutting. And any kind of 80-year-old structure, it had a lot of wear and tear, and it was actually slated to be demoed. And so we stepped in and we raised money among our supporters to do immediate improvements and stabilize it. And we've been continually investing in it ever since to make it a professional venue. And so, it seats just over 7,000 people, and, it's got a lot of charm. I joke that it's got more charm than mortar holding it together at this point. But it creates, we're in the business of memories, and it's an incredibly memorable venue and experience. But where we're at, in professional soccer, there's just extreme limitations of Keyworth. We only have 200 parking spots, and that's dependent upon how much it rains, leading up to the game.
Wow.
We've squeezed as many people as we can into there, but it's an incredibly tight setting, and I think it's time for us to find a venue that meets the expectations of our fans and to beat Detroit soccer team. So
right on.
That was to our latest chapter.
So talk about that chapter. What have you announced? You obviously have a new space coming. Where is it going to be? And what hurdles have you had to clear to get this to the point where you're announcing that it's happening?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, my partners and I decided that, we needed a permanent home for soccer in Detroit, that the sport deserved that, and this community, it's a really great sports town. And so we started last year acquiring land, and to date we've acquired just over 17 acres, and we've acquired pretty much all of the privately owned land adjacent to Michigan Central Station. So right where I-96 converges with I-75, just on the west side of downtown. So we've bought the old Southwest Detroit Hospital. It's kind of the focal point. But all told, we've bought 12, 13 parcels that were owned by 8 different private entities, and somehow we were able to do that without any of them figuring out what we were up to. Because if any one of them had figured it out, it probably would have all fallen apart. But it's an incredibly enticing, exciting location. It's a vacant land, long time vacant, blighted property that bridges Courttown with Mexican Town, which are 2 regional destinations within the city. And it's an incredibly prominent location with the 2 freeways meeting there. You got close to 2 million cars a week that drive right by the site. So and I think it's fitting for us in that I live in Mexican Town. I've lived there for 18 years now. So I live just 2 or 3 blocks from the stadium. And, the other guys I started with the team with, they live just a few blocks the other direction in Courttown. And so, if we go back in a time machine when we were, concocting this team, back in 2011, 2012, we were doing it over beers on the bars on Michigan Avenue. And so, to here now be, doing this major project, right there in our own neighborhood. And we joke, but no one's corrected us. Like, we're the first pro sports team in America, leadership, to build a stadium in their own census tract, So we've lived in this neighborhood a long time. We know a lot of the neighbors. That's an incredibly unique opportunity.
That's fantastic. What a great story. It probably would have been a little cheaper if you'd bought it back then, too, I would imagine. That Courttown, Mexican Town has become quite the address these days, and that's only going to fan the flames of your success. So, that's just such a great story.
We definitely are benefiting by a lot of the other investments, big and small, that have happened in that stretch. And some of those people were good friends of ours who opened the bars and restaurants. But then also, even though I drive by the hospital 4 times a day, shuttling kids around to various activities, it was really Ford's investment in Michigan Central train station that really kind of opened our eyes to the possibility of what everything that site could be.
Makes a lot of sense. So now that's got to be reasonably, because this is going to be ground up construction, right? You're building this new arena from, you said, vacant land or blighted properties, buildings that are going to come down. So how did you pull the financing together for all of this? What kind of partnerships do you have, and how are you pulling this all together from a capital stack standpoint?
Yeah. Not uncommon in the world of soccer. We've been out there raising money, and we've had some great partners join us and invest in the club from an equity perspective. Over the years, as we've scaled up, and there's people who appreciate what we've been doing and appreciate the vision for it, and so. We've been doing an equity raise for the last year and a half now for the land acquisition, and now we're finalizing the equity raise for the stadium, and we've been collecting our term sheets from lenders. It's a very unique project, and I think one of the things that kind of core to who we are, both our values as a community-oriented organization and started by guys who live in the neighborhood, is that we are working to be the only privately owned stadium in the state of Michigan. We would be contributing to the tax rolls,
right?
Unlike the other stadiums that are owned by public entities, right? And so, that's a trend that's happening more with stadiums of this scale, but it's something that we thought was important for who we are and what we're trying to do here. So that's been a process getting lenders on board, but we're getting there, and working to get the public approval process going, for the overall project later this summer.
Wonderful. Well, today's podcast is sponsored by our good friends at the Kirk Byron State Farm Agency. Their mission is to put the customer first when helping them plan for the risks of everyday life and to prepare them for the unexpected and realize their financial goals. Kirk and his team build value and confidence in your auto, home, life, health, and business insurance and financial service needs. Kirk is always looking for opportunities to help customers in mid-Michigan and around the country. Everyone has insurance needs, and you do well by contacting Kirk Byron State Farm Agency and hear what these experts have to say. You can get in touch with them by calling 517-349-3830 or look them up at sfbyrons.com. You will not regret it. So what's the capacity and what kind of amenities will the new stadium have that your current facility doesn't have?
bathrooms that aren't porta-johns. That's a key, bucket list item that we've always wanted. Concessions. IKEA was great, but it is just a concrete shell, and it's just wood benches, and we're putting together, a modern facility, right? And so, the things, will be, proper locker rooms for the players, a top-notch field. And we're working on some exciting partnerships there that we'll be rolling out. Press, hospitality. I mean, those are the key things that are kind of paying for this, right? Is, the hospitality areas and the opportunities to sell naming rights to certain things that we don't have now.
Okay.
But also, we appreciate who we are and where we came from. And so, we're the only soccer team in North America where the supporters sit at midfield of the stadium. They're right there in the middle. And so that's something that we've maintained through this design, is so that those fans, those rabid ones, aren't tucked in a corner, but they're right there, right in the center of the whole experience. In terms of size, it's really exciting. Our league, USL, has announced that they're launching a new division. So as I was saying before, we're currently in the second division of American soccer. And so teams like us, teams in Sacramento and Tampa are, who have always kind of been in the mix for potential MLS expansion. We see an opportunity that we're building these venues that actually meet U.S. Soccer's Division I standards. And so our league is going to launch its own Division I, same as MLS. And so the criteria for that is a stadium that can accommodate 15,000 people. And so that's the benchmark that we're shooting for to meet that U.S. Soccer Federation standards for Division I.
That's excellent. 15,000. That's quite a raise up from the 7,000 you have now, and I'm sure that'll come with more parking spaces too, right?
Yes, that is probably. I mean, we have not gone into we've only had the initial brownfield process, and we'll go into the full stadium approval process, later this summer and fall. And there's been, very broad support and a lot of credibility in the community, but parking is one of the top things brought up. And so, yes, there will be far more parking than what we have now, to accommodate these larger crowds.
So when do you hope that this will be open? We're recording this in July of 2025 for those who find it later, but when do you expect this construction project to be done and you'll be playing your first matches?
Yeah, I mean, we're pushing everybody, architects, contractors, everybody to be ready for the 27 season. So literally this morning, our first permit for the first work of the demo of the hospital just came across, and so finally we can get that going. And yeah, but everything is working for us to be in the stadium for the 27th season.
Right on. Congratulations. Such a big lift. I'm really proud and impressed to be a Michigander and hear this story. I will definitely make the trip down and check out your product on the field, on the pitch when it gets up and running in 2027, and maybe come down and catch a game in your current facility even to get a before and after dose, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it is one of the most authentic and unique sporting events in Michigan and in American soccer. And so it's really something to check out, both at Keyworth, but then, with the new venue just down the road. I think it'll be something special and a point of pride for Detroiters and folks across the state.
Right on. Well, how can listeners learn more about the Detroit City Football Club overall and maybe follow this product along?
Yeah, I mean, Detroit City Football Club, we're on all the social media channels, websites, DETCITYFC.com. You can check out any of our games on CBSDetroit.com, streaming across the state, or on ESPN+. So definitely recommend checking it out, and certainly coming on down to Detroit when you can. Fantastic.
Well, it's a great story. I wish you all the success and smooth sailing as you go through the arduous process of getting this thing constructed, and really proud to have had you on. We've been speaking with the co-owner and CEO of the Detroit City Football Club, Mann. Sean, thanks so much for joining us on the show here today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. And I'd love to give a final shout out to all my loyal sponsors. We got Wagoner Financial, Good Marketing, Triterra Environmental, Keller Williams Advantage and Team, Michigan Rise, Kirk Byron State Farm, and the attorneys at Foster Swift. All great people doing great work out there. And if you found the show as a one-off, I want to remind you to follow and subscribe to Michigan Reimagined on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. This is Chris Buck signing off for Michigan Reimagined.